So one is, you may have seen this when you walked in, Albuquerque Zine Fest, which is an amazing event that has been happening in Albuquerque for how many years now? 8 years. We're so excited to host it. We're gonna have a pre-Zine Fest vegan zine cooking demonstration and reading the night before right here in this space. And then all day on Saturday, October 6th, we'll have creatives sharing their work, sharing their zines, selling their zines all throughout the space. Good things to eat, good things to drink, and lots of amazing art. So please come to that. On Saturday, November 1st, we'll be hosting Working Classroom's annual Dia de los Muertos installation in the space. So students have been working really hard all summer long, investigating themes around lives lost to preventable deaths, focused on the theme of water this year. They've been creating amazing papel picado and animations and a gorgeous installation to get our community thinking about those themes, about those issues in a way that brings us together and gets us celebrating and honoring those lives. So hopefully you'll come join us on Saturday, November 1st, I think from 6 to 9 p.m. So just two partners that are dear to working to Three Sisters Kitchen, that are represented here today, and that are really invested in bringing community together around the arts. So thanks for being here, all of you, and I hope you all come and check out those events. So I have prepared a few remarks today. Many of you have been here before, have heard me talk about Three Sisters Kitchen, our mission, our vision, and the process of getting this space together for all of you. So forgive me if you're hearing things I've said before to you. But just, I guess before I start, for those of you that have been here to come on a tour of this space, or have met with me to share your ideas for programming you want to see here, or a class you want to teach, or a class you want to take, or who helped us paint the walls or bring the equipment in, if you could just raise your hand. For those of you. So there are several of you in the audience here, and some of you are being modest because you were more helpful than you're acknowledging. But so that really has been the vision from the beginning of building this space, is engaging as many people as we possibly can from New Mexico, from Albuquerque, and saying, what does it mean to build a community food space? What does that mean? But also, what does it mean to be creating a space that is relevant to people's lives, to their work, to their families, and to the lives they want to be living. And so that question has been at the core of building out Three Sisters Kitchen. So I just wanted to give you an introduction to the space, share what our process has been, and then talk a little bit about what we hope to be doing from this point forward. So Three Sisters Kitchen is a community food space that really taps into the power and love of local food to create economic opportunity, to improve community health, and to bring our diverse communities together around the table, so literally and metaphorically. And that vision, that mission, has been the result of about 2 years of what we have called a community engaged planning process. So a little over 2 years ago, I guess 2.5 years ago, there were a number of community-based organizations, downtown Albuquerque Main Street, the downtown Albuquerque Growers Market, and a group that was called Delicious New Mexico, they're now called Thoughtfully Produced, who were getting together because they were hearing from local farmers selling at the downtown Growers Market that there was a need for an incubator kitchen in downtown Albuquerque. So an incubator kitchen meaning a commercial kitchen space where people who wanted to develop food business ideas or food products for retail or wholesale sale could come, utilize the kitchen space, produce in a way that was legal, that was compliant with all the rules and regulations for food business, but also that was a space that they could experiment and explore food business development without really knowing all the steps or all the right ways to do things just yet. So they were hearing from farmers, they were hearing from community members that there was a desire to have that space downtown. There's already amazing resources for food business development. There's the Mixing Bowl Kitchen down at the South Valley Development Center, if any of you have been down there on Isleta. It's a beautiful space, it's an amazing kitchen that really inspired a lot of what we're doing here. There's a number of commercial kitchens around the city and around the state. What we were hearing was people wanted a space that could kind of help them get ready to utilize those spaces. So you come in with an idea, but not much else. You get to try things out before you have a recipe that you've validated and scaled up, before you have the investment you need to start your business, before you can afford to pay by the hour to use a commercial space, and you can figure things out. So that was an exciting idea. And really, from that point, about 2.5 years ago, so I came on board about 2 years ago in July of 2016 with that mandate to kind of take that request and build something. And so from that point, really really, we just kept asking those questions. What does this space need to be relevant to your life, to your work, to your family? And that has guided the process ever since. So for the past 2 years, we invited people into the space. So originally we were actually planning on building out across the street. So for the first few months, some of you were a part of this, we had a little hand-drawn map of that space, and we said, like, where should a stove go? What should we do? And people would draw out on those like maps what they thought the space should include, how it should be designed. As we realized, it was pretty impossible to utilize that space because there was no place to put a commercial hood, which is required in a commercial kitchen. The tenants in this space, it was Noodle King, which was a great restaurant, were moving out. They were moving to a different location. And so we realized we could still take all those ideas, all those plans. This space was much better equipped for what we were hoping to do, and we could just continue the conversation with this location. So that was a really big step. That was in April of 2017. So we just kept doing that, right? Inviting people in, going to speak at schools, at community-based organizations, at community meetings, at neighborhood association meetings, and saying, we want to build a community food space. What is that to you? What does it need to be relevant to your life? And every conversation, every tour, every coffee I had with somebody, every phone call, every survey that we got filled out resulted in an important new idea, something I hadn't thought about or something we weren't thinking about in the right ways, that really just strengthened the mission and vision for Three Sisters Kitchen, including the name. So Three Sisters is a reference to the indigenous method of planting, of complementary planting, of growing corn, beans, and squash together. Those are the Three Sisters. It's not me, I'm an only child. Everybody asks, but right? So that idea that you grow things that together, you plant them together because they grow stronger together, right? So you think about the corn that grows tall, the beans that use it as an anchor to grow up, the squash leaves that grow out and protect the roots and keep pests out, right? One fixes nitrogen in the soil, the other uses the nitrogen, right? It's a beautiful, literal and metaphorical way to think about community work, right? We all have something to give that's meaningful no matter who we are, and we all have something that we need, and there's no shame in that, and that's meaningful, and we grow stronger together. So as cheesy as that sounds, it's a really beautiful way to think about what we want to do with Three Sisters Kitchen. And that metaphor, that idea, that name came out of these community conversations. And once we had a name, it was like, all right, it's real, it's going to happen, and it was a really exciting process from that point forward. So over 2,000 people were engaged in that community engaged planning process. Some very informally, like people walking by being like, what is this? Oh, you should make sure you have a tilt skillet because my cousin who makes salsa needs a big thing for bottling and canning, right? Or like, why are you building it on, in this location? You're never gonna get families down here unless you have programming for young kids, right? I mean, just amazing suggestions from everyone who walked by, from people who came to community meetings and workshops. And we also were fortunate to get a grant from the Environmental Protection Agency. We got what's called a Local Foods, Local Places grant, which wasn't money, but it was technical assistance to run a community action planning session over a 2-day period where we had over 100 community members come in. So many of you were there. It was neighborhood residents and business owners. It was farmers and ranchers. It was folks from government agencies, folks from local businesses and nonprofits, a lot of folks from the health sector coming in and saying, okay, we believe in this project, we believe in this mission, we want to make sure it's done right. And so we're willing to give 2 days of our life to build an action plan to say, this is what we think should happen, this is how we think it should happen, this is who we think should do it, and this is what I'm willing to commit to make it happen. So it was an amazing process. It was really nice for me as the only staff person to be like, okay, I'm not alone in this. People have a lot to offer, and people are willing to give their time, their energy, their money, their ideas, their suggestions to make it happen. That happened last September. And so we got this beautiful EPA-issued document saying, all right, there's buy-in from the community. There's also all these directives from the community to make sure that you're being held accountable to what the community needs and wants, and that you're not in this alone. Here are organizations and individuals who want to partner, who make sense to partner with to make this idea successful. So as a result of these thousands of people weighing in on what Three Sisters should be, we built out this beautiful space and all of the programming that will happen here. So I just kind of want to take you through a virtual tour, and then since you're here, when I'm done talking, if anyone wants to actually see the space, I'm happy to show you. It's like my favorite thing to do is walk through and point at everything. So you're sitting in, I think, what I'm the most excited about, which is the community classroom. This space is designed for 3 primary programmatic functions, but really it's about cooking together, eating together, enjoying food together. I am, as was mentioned, my background is in public health and the nonprofit world. My approach to healthy eating is that food should make us feel good. So I'm not so into counting calories and all the rules and regulations, because when people tell me what not to eat, that's all I crave, right? That's then what I go and eat. What I want to do is get people thinking about what makes you feel good, what gives you energy, what makes you think of home, what are the ways that food feeds our souls, feeds our bodies, and improves our health and the health of the community in meaningful ways, right? Where is that food coming from? Who are we supporting with the dollars we spend on the food we buy and eat? How are we cooking that food? Who are we eating that food with? Who are we cooking for, right? So that's really informing the community cooking classes that will take place here. So Three Sisters Kitchen staff will teach a lot of community cooking classes just focused on getting home cooks more confident in their kitchen. So this, even though it looks super fancy, is all residential grade equipment. It's not commercial equipment. This is not for chefs to learn how to do their thing in the food industry. This is for all of you. This is for home cooks to feel more confident in your home kitchens. So we'll be teaching our own classes. We're also inviting anyone who wants to teach in here. So I know Celestina is here somewhere. There's a number of nutritionists in the community who are excited about teaching cooking classes in here. We have a lot of people who are interested in teaching pie and pastry classes, pasta making, tamale making, a number of different types of cooking and sharing of food traditions. And the idea is anyone who wants to use the space will figure out a way to make it work, so that, again, a number of food stories, food traditions are being shared around the table in this space. And then lastly, we'll be doing more specific training in this space for community organizations who have asked us to develop curriculum and training for them. So 2 partners that I'm really excited about. One is Encuentro, which is our neighbor down on 4th Street, who's been running a training program in partnership with CNM for the last several years, focused on home healthcare providers, so home health aides. They have a great certification program with CNM, but when we went to them and said, how can this community food space be relevant to you, to your lives, to your work, to your families, they said, here is a list of like 75 topics that we either want to learn more about or that we want to teach and share, because we've been doing this work and we have strategies that will help save people time and improve the quality of care in home-based healthcare. So in partnership with Encuentro, with Presbyterian Healthcare Services, with Meals on Wheels, and with Three Sisters Kitchen, those are all the partners there. I'm like, who else? We are building out, it's actually a 4-year project where, in partnership with the home health aides at Encuentro, we're developing curriculum to focus on food and nutrition in the senior care and home health care context. We'll be piloting it, testing it out, and then eventually training those home health aides to provide that training in the larger community. So that's this concrete way to improve the quality of care, to invest in the capacity in a field that's growing, and to tap into the role of food and nutrition and work outside of the restaurant industry. Another partnership was with an amazing group called the Partnership for Community Action, and with UNM's Prevention Research Center, focused very similarly. It's like a parallel curriculum for home-based child care providers. So again, people who are cooking for and with kids in their care, in their homes, who have questions around food safety, around nutrition and child development, who are already doing this work and who we want to help support and build capacity. So that's what happens here in the community classroom. I hope I'm doing okay on time. All right, I'm a talker. Next door is what we're calling the community dining room. So definitely I encourage you to walk around and poke around. That space features our community cookbook library, which is just the result of people dropping off cookbooks for the last 6 months. It's a great selection and it's growing by the day. It also features this incredible mural by Nani Chacon, Working Classroom, and David de la Cruz, who is the apprentice artist on that project. That project is made possible through the support of the Downtown Arts and Cultural District, of Michael Lopez, who's sitting in the back, and Joe Romero, who really got the funds together to make sure we could pay the artists doing the work and that we could really celebrate the beauty of the Three Sisters and of all the amazing artists here in our community. So as was mentioned, there are these commemorative posters that we printed, basically because I feel selfish being the person who gets to see the mural every day, so I want you all to be able to see it every day too. And Nani so generously has shared her image with us to do that. The community dining room is just that. It's a space for people to come together and eat together. We hope to host community meals, community potlucks, pop-ups for people who have ideas for restaurants or catering concepts or food trucks that they want to test out before they're making a commitment to getting a brick and mortar space. So they can test a menu concept out, they can raise a little money for that vision, that dream. You all can come and eat. So hopefully it will just be a fun space that allows us to bring people together. We're really excited to build out large community tables for that space to host those meals. Next, or behind the community dining room, are two spaces, our local food shop and cafe and our commercial test kitchen. So the commercial test kitchen is still being developed. We don't have all the equipment in there yet, but thanks to over 30 legislators here in New Mexico, we were able to secure funds to build out that kitchen to help aspiring food business entrepreneurs test their concepts, build out their recipes, and start food businesses if they decide it's the right choice for them. So that space, we're working in partnership with another nonprofit called the Street Food Institute, who's been running amazing food business training programs for the last 5 years here in Albuquerque. They're based at CNM, they're their own nonprofit organization. They are working with us to build out a curriculum for low-income aspiring food business entrepreneurs who want to build value-added product businesses. So value-added meaning they take a raw food product, they do something to it that adds value, and then it can be sold. So think about like everything that goes on a shelf in a store. So your salsas, your jams, your breads, your meal kits, your juices, your smoothies, whatever else. So that kitchen is really designed for value-added production, for experimentation, learning how to use commercial equipment. So you make bizcochitos at home for Christmas, for everybody in your life every Christmas, right? Everybody in your life tells you you should start a business, kind of feels like something you're interested in. This is a space to come in and say, what does it mean to scale up my recipe from making 200 at a time in my home kitchen to making 2,000 or 20,000 at a time in a commercial kitchen? What do you have to do to that recipe to make it work? How do I think about packaging and shelf life when something needs to last for 2 weeks as opposed to like 30 seconds on my counter, right? Those are things you learn by doing, because it's not, you can sort of think about it from a food science perspective and tweak your recipe, but there are necessary changes that happen when you're working in a commercial space, right? The humidity of that kitchen impacts your final outcome, right? There are all these questions. And so the idea is you could come in with a lot of great ideas, but not necessarily with any financial capital, all kinds of other capital, right? And experiment and explore with the guidance and technical assistance of our instructors and really build out those concepts so that by the end of our 15-week training, you've gotten a survey of different value-added production techniques, baking, dehydrated foods, prepared meals, acidified foods, quick pickling, that kind of thing. You have a sense of, is your concept viable? How much it really costs to do it? Is it a risk you're ready to take? Do you like being on your feet in the kitchen all day, right? Something as simple as that. There's the sort of romance of food business development, and then there's the reality, right? We want people to come and try it out before they're putting their money on the line. They're using our dollars, our pantry, our space to take those risks so that then they can determine whether it's right for them. So our assumption is a lot of people who go through our training program are gonna say, food business is not actually right for me. I know because I've tried this, I've figured it out, what it's gonna cost, what it's gonna take. And for us, that's a successful outcome, right? Preventing bankruptcy, preventing financial risks that people aren't ready to take is just as successful an outcome as somebody developing a food business that will work and being ready to scale up. So that's the commercial test kitchen. And then the last space is our local food shop and cafe. That space is designed to highlight those local food products. So I see Melody from New Day. They've got an amazing food business that they've been working with the kids in their program. It's called I'd Eat That, right? Delicious empanadas that we hope to carry in our space to lift up a local food business, help them make money, but also access, downtown markets in Albuquerque. There are a number of local businesses that we're excited to carry their products, and we hope to feature the products being developed in our kitchen as well, right? The idea for the local food shop and cafe is that eventually we'll have breakfast, lunch, and happy hour service. We'll feature locally grown and raised foods. We'll have a seasonal menu. Pricing will be affordable. These are all things we're gonna try out. We'll see what works, but this is the vision at this point. And we'll sell locally made food. So the rule for that space is everything we sell is New Mexico made. So that we're providing a tangible, accessible way to shop local, to support local, and we're figuring out what makes sense to really support local producers. I think there's gonna be a lot of challenges there, and we're gonna figure them out as we go. So local food shop and cafe, commercial test kitchen, community dining room, and community classroom. All of that has come from these community conversations, from people saying, have you thought about this? Don't do that, that's a mistake, I tried it and I lost all my money. Do this, think about this, try this. Have you talked to this person? I know somebody who does this or who might want to teach that class. And that has really shaped every component of this space. So I just kind of wanted to share what that process has been, what it's meant to me to be the person working here, but who is not holding this whole vision, who is not solely responsible for everything we're gonna do or everything you're gonna see. It's really just been so exciting for me to be able to say, like, all right, like we made this, right? Everyone has been a part of this. Whatever we do, whatever works, whatever doesn't, it's a result of the learning that we're doing together. And to really mean that, right? Like it helps me wake up in the morning, it helps me go to sleep at night, and it makes me, it's what's given me the hope and the faith to keep going and to know that this is gonna be something. For those of you that came into this building 8 months ago, right, it was a stretch to be able to see what you're seeing today. And it's really a result of that community engaged planning process, the buy-in, the commitment, the ideas, the genius that has come from the Albuquerque and larger New Mexico community, and from people outside of the state who have invited me to come and visit their organizations, their programs, who have weighed in, who have sent us cookbooks or given us ideas or called us just to brainstorm, right? All of that has made this space possible. And so I have no idea how I'm doing on time. Okay. Okay, cool. But I just kind of wanted to leave you with two very obvious but really important notes from what community means at Three Sisters Kitchen and what community has meant in getting us to this point. One is what it means to be able to be comfortable, but also to be able to ask for help, right? This is only a reality because I was able to like get over myself and ask for help, right? Reach out to people who just knew so much more than I do about all of these pieces, right? I think one thing about the scope and scale of Three Sisters Kitchen, that we're like a community health space, and we're an economic development space, and we're a restaurant, and we're a nonprofit, and right? It was too big. I couldn't pretend to know how to do it all. And in some ways that was really a relief. That I could just admit that I was learning too, I was trying new things. There were certain things that I feel super confident in, that I know how to do, and there were so many things that I have good ideas, or maybe not so good ideas, but no experience doing. And there are people here who are experts in those areas. And so the ability and the possibility of asking for help and people's willingness and excitement about what we were building here is what's made this possible. And so just a reminder that it's okay to ask for help, that everything is stronger and works better and you're not in it alone when you do that, but that, that's a lesson that I'm really trying to carry with me. There's a really dysfunctional culture in the nonprofit world, right? That we're all like doing it alone and we're working so hard and nobody gets it and we're totally overextended and totally exploited, and like it doesn't have to be like that, right? And part of shifting that culture is asking for help, is not being territorial in our work, but also admitting when we don't know what we're doing and letting people be a part of that process, because the work is stronger for it. And then secondly, a huge part of what we're trying to do with our food business training program is give poor people an opportunity to take risks, to dream and try things that might not work when it comes to food business development, right? That's not common. People are expected to try things, and if they don't work, it's a failure, right? With food business development especially. And so what we want to do is provide a space for people to take those risks and try things. And when they don't work, understand that not working is not failure, it's learning opportunities. Again, sounds really cheesy, but it's real. And so extending that same generosity to myself and to all the folks that have been a part of making Three Sisters Kitchen happen, that we're gonna try things, and a lot of it is not gonna work, and that's okay, and that we're learning together, and that like everybody who's in our food business training program, the first cohort, they are a part of shaping that program. They're a part of shaping that curriculum. Like, we're gonna be figuring it out together. We're gonna be as prepared as we can. We're gonna be, do due diligence and try to do everything well, but it's not all gonna work. And so asking again for that support and that like solidarity and risk-taking, with the understanding that we deserve those opportunities to try things. And when they don't work, it doesn't mean it's a failure. It just means now you get to refine and address and fix and see what can happen. So those are my two sort of reminders to all of us and to myself, right? Ask for help and give yourself permission to take risks, and really know that when what you're doing is driven by the right motivation, especially love for community and a desire to really hold these spaces for our larger community, that they're gonna work because you're bringing people into the process, you're asking for help, and you're giving yourself that permission to take risks. So thank you all so much for being here. I'm excited for questions and just excited, again, to see you all here. I'm like, there's people in the space, it's real. So thank you all so much.